Hello and welcome to this episode of Demystified as we explore home cooking in a modern world. Hello, I'm Linda and I'm sitting here with Paul. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Linda.
And today we're going to be talking chicken. Now, I know after
Poultry.
one of those ones we talked about where I thought it was fish and realised that fish was a whole range of topics, I suspect chicken's going to be very similar, Paul. So I think chicken, when I was doing some research, is the most widely eaten protein.
Yeah, globally, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to get correct statistics, but yeah.
But it is certainly, I think, high on the list of everyone's home favourites.
Yeah.
And with the steam oven, I think what I love about it, and I know we touched about this a little bit in the fish episode, was just when you're steaming it, just how gently it cooks and there is that leeway.
Correct. Well, I mean, a lot of it depends on the cut, which cut we're using, whether we're roasting the chicken, steaming a chicken breast, like there's a lot of different ways in which we go about it, but certainly just a straight up steamed chicken breast, if it's done correctly, is delicious. And I'm personally not a fan of chicken, and especially chicken breast, because I find it very difficult to punch flavour into it. But if it's cooked correctly and has not been overcooked, especially chicken breast because it's so lean, it's quite delicious.
And it goes with so many other things that you'd have in your kitchen.
Yeah.
In standard, like I often on lunches will steam some chicken breast and then pull it apart, mix it with a bit of mayonnaise for a sandwich.
Yeah.
Or for a salad.
Yeah.
So it's just great. That's what I find a really quick alternative to maybe something a little bit less healthy or on the run.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not I think we've said this many times before, if we talk standalone steaming, which is what we're talking about now, it's not a faster method. So the trick to it is just lower your temperature but increase your time. So chicken doesn't need to be cooked at 100 degrees. Of course you can, but it doesn't, not chicken breast I'm talking about, it doesn't need to be cooked at 100 degrees. So if we drop the temperature reasonably significantly, you'll end up with something super succulent and delicious, and that you'll want to cook again and again and again, even though it's something as simple as a steamed piece of chicken. And then you can, obviously, like you do, add to it, do whatever you want to do to it. But yeah, if you actually drop the temperature, get it down around 70 or 65 is probably
65.
Yeah, 64, 65 is as low as you want to go for a chicken breast. Now, legs are different. So drumsticks and thighs and things like that. Just if you want to term them, breast is white meat, legs and thighs are dark meat. So the dark meats need higher temp to actually get the job done and get them cooked. But a chicken breast steamed at around 70 degrees, 65, 64 you don't want to drop below, but around 70 degrees will be quite delicious. But I mean, hence the whole problem with roasting chickens. I mean, like we talk, there's quite a few recipes on the site for a roasted chicken. I think we did a whole steamed chicken at one stage, which was actually really good. And I don't usually say that about the food that I cook, but it was I actually really enjoyed that. But a roasted chicken, the benefit of combi steam is that we're injecting steam throughout the cooking cycle, so it stops the breast drying out. So if we break the chicken down into, maybe I'm getting a bit further into the advanced thinking here as far as poultry, but if we break the chicken down into those two sections, dark and white, as far as the meats go, white meat needs less temperature, dark meat needs more temperature. So if we're roasting it, the problem is that the chicken breast or the white meat cooks way before the legs do. So every recipe will tell you to check whether the chicken's cooked by poking it in the thigh and seeing if the juices run clear. That's because that's where it takes longest to cook. You have bone, different makeup as far as the meat goes. So the benefit of combi steam cooking is while we're waiting for the leg to catch up to the breast as far as in a temperature scale, we've got steam going in there, so the breast doesn't dry out as much as it would if we were doing it in a regular fan-forced 180 degree conventional oven. If we use a combination mode, so dry heat and steam together, we'll still get it crisp and coloured and golden brown and delicious, but the breast doesn't dry out as much. Does that make sense at all?
Totally.
Okay, good.
No, totally it does. Well,
Makes sense in my head.
I know that our nephew, when he was quite young, had a lot of food allergies and you know, a lot of things that he didn't feel like eating, or food that he didn't want to eat. And one of the things that he did really enjoy was his mum has a steam oven, and she would put in little chicken thighs and steam them, and there was a lot of leeway in there if she got caught up because she was busy with him or doing other things for her other child or home in general. But he would love those because it was really well cooked, it was tasty, there was a real flavour of chicken, but no other fats or salts or anything on the food, which was, as a young kid, this was perfect for him. Yeah,
and I mean, chicken's a funny thing because it... so if I eat chicken personally myself, I'll go for the thigh or the leg, because I think it's got more flavour. And certainly if you cook it on the bone, it has much more flavour. It's got much more flavour than chicken breast, for example. But I still encourage people to steam a chicken breast. Just drop the temperature because you'll get a better end result. But chicken thighs, certainly, yes, you can steam them. You can just, to be honest with you could throw them straight on a tray and just do a roast like you would with any other roast, just using a combination mode to maintain that sort of succulence, if you like. But chicken thighs probably, I think, if you talk about the pick of the parts of the chicken, the thigh is probably the best for me. I know a lot of people like drumsticks. I think the thigh's the best, and then chicken wings are just delicious. They're properly delicious.
I was thinking that you and I would be okay when we go into our chicken shop and get half a chicken and chips, which I think is Australia's second most favourite takeaway, because I like the wing and the breast and you like the other part.
Yeah.
But then we'd fight over the wings, so okay, we can't do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't go to the chicken shop. We'll just get a whole chicken and do it ourselves.
One of the things that I think you first started cooking with steam was a roast chicken with the carrots and celery underneath. And I must say, I'd never actually cooked a chicken that way until I tried that. And that was fantastic because it was not only a little bit of veggies on the side, which I think at the time you said, you don't necessarily have to eat those.
Yeah, so that's a very classic old school preparation, very old school French preparation, and you effectively have a mirepoix of vegetables, which is generally onion, celery, carrot, sometimes leek as well. And that sort of, and the bird just sits on top of that and it sort of perfumes the bird a little bit, gives it a little bit of flavour as it cooks. And those vegetables are generally disposed of. They're not part of the dish, but of course they've had lots of chicken fat and chicken juices running into them. I mean, so they're more a braised vegetable than a roasted vegetable, if you like.
But we fight over them at home. We've got roast potatoes and
if you like
chicken
them,
that way.
Good luck to you.
We fight over them.
Why not? Also, I mean, so that's a very classic preparation for a chicken. A couple of other things that sort of I've been working on lately with chicken, which we will do in the not too distant future on the website, is getting into brining. So we'll start brining whole chickens just to get a little bit more moisture into them. So that'll help retain more moisture during the cooking cycle. So brining's a big thing. So we'll make a brining solution and leave the chicken. We'll do whole chickens and we'll do portions of chickens, and we'll see how that sort of comes about. But yeah, I mean, that's quite the process, but kind of looking for the ultimate roast chicken. I mean, if you can leave something in your fridge for a couple of days, it doesn't really matter. So it's sounding and looking like it's going to be a 3-day process where we'll brine our chicken for 2 days, and then we'll pull it out of the brine and leave the chicken sit in the fridge for a whole day at least, more like 24 hours, so an entire day, to dry the skin back out. So we'll have super succulent meat, but super dry skin, and it also helps season the chicken as well.
Now, this is where I'm showing my ignorance, and why, for those who listen, I'm still in year 1 of my apprenticeship, 4 years in. But a brine is a salt and water mix.
Solution,
A solution. And I thought when you put salt on something, it was to try and draw the moisture out and dry it out a little bit.
Yeah.
So it seems counterintuitive to me to put anything in a mix of water and salt.
Yeah, okay, so...
To add more.
Yes, so you've got to understand that if you take something like table salt or any sort of salt and add it to any sort of protein, just as it is, like you would season a piece of fish or a piece of steak or something, and you let it sit there, you can actually see the moisture being drawn out of it. It's actually quite a good technique for a lot of things. So if you're doing a big piece of roasted beef, it's quite good to season it and let it sit overnight in your fridge with salt on it. And that'll draw the excess moisture out. So when your beef is roasting, it's roasting, not braising. So a lot of people have trouble, like if you think about doing a casserole or something like that, and you put meat in a saucepan, and then it starts to not colour but braise and bubble. Okay, that's all the moisture in the meat coming out due to the heat. So you want that to be colouring and frying rather than braising. You're going to braise it later on. So by salting it, it draws that excess moisture out. So when you go to do that sort of first sealing, it will actually seal better because a lot of the moisture's already been pulled out. Now, the difference with a brining solution is a very low percentage salt solution. So we rely on the water to not have as great an impact on the protein with the salt in there. So the water tempers everything down. So if you just put salt straight on a piece of chicken, it's going to draw the moisture out of the chicken, and will more likely than not, if it sits there a long time, dry it out. With the water in there, what it actually does is help penetrate the flesh and stop things from drying out during cooking. So the salt solutions can be anywhere up to 1, 2, 5, 7, 9, 10%, depending on what we're doing. So a lot of hams and things like that are done in salt solutions, in brines. Turkeys are quite often done in brines and stuff like that. So it doesn't actually cook, or, if you kind of like a gravlax or something like that, it doesn't actually cook, or a ceviche or whatever, it doesn't actually cook the flesh. It helps retain moisture down the track. So brining is different to seasoning. It is a type of seasoning, but it's a much slower process, so it's not going to have the same impact as just putting straight salt on something.
Which is what we do for the steamed pork belly. When you put salt,
correct,
and to flavour it, and you put the
star
anise and everything else into
correct,
it.
Okay, so you've done that.
Draws out.
Yeah, you've seen that, right? It draws out a lot of moisture.
I've done that.
Yes, you've done that.
I've done that.
All right, so but that draws out a lot of moisture from that pork, and that's water contained within the piece of meat. Now, with pork belly, it's good because you have a high fat content. So when you cook it, you're not losing a ton of moisture. So with a pork loin, something that's very lean, I wouldn't do that. But with pork belly, because it's got a high fat content, we can go straight in with the salt, sugar, that spice mix that we do, and it draws the moisture out, and it also seasons it as it cures, if you like. So that's very similar to the first process in making bacon.
Okay.
So smoked salmon is very similar. So they make a cure mix, and they will season and cure the salmon, and then let that sit for a period of time, and then it gets smoked.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're talking more about seasoning the chickens, but nonetheless, like the brining solution, it's a very low percentage salt solution, so it doesn't have the same effect as just straight seasoning with salt. Does that make sense to you?
No, it does.
You look confused.
That's my permanent look, Paul. You know that. And probably one of the things that I also love about the chicken breast, which I cook more at home, is, because that's what we love, is being able to cook veggies in that temperate zone as well, of the sort of 80 plus.
Yeah.
I can put chicken in and then throw in some veggies, which is as close as I get to a one-pan dish, particularly if I'm making like a big sort of salad or something like that, and I'll put in some asparagus or beans.
Yeah, so I mean, one that I will do myself at home reasonably often is I will get some chicken breast, and as I said, I'm not a fan, but having it cooked correctly, I actually do quite enjoy it. Get some chicken breasts, and I'll steam them at about 65 degrees, and they're skin on. Okay, and so what I then do is remove them from the oven, and I'll just get some greens like sugar snap, snow peas, generally Asian greens I quite like, so bok choy, Chinese broccoli, anything like that. I crank the oven back up to full steam. While that's getting back up to temp, I actually pan fry the skin on the chicken breast. Now, because it's been steamed first, it tends to crisp much faster and better. So while that's having a quick pan fry, not a long pan fry, because under that high temp it'll dry it out, but a quick pan fry, my veggies cook, take my chicken out, slice it up, throw it on top of the veggies, bit of chili, oyster sauce, whatever, happy days. Dinner, like within, 15, 20, well, maybe about 25 minutes. So, yeah, I mean, we discuss often this one sheet theory. You've got to remember vegetables, like you can get some vegetables cooking at 80 degrees, 85 degrees, but not all will, and sometimes you'll be waiting forever for them to cook. So, I mean, leafy greens and stuff like that, they can deal with a bit lower temperature, but something like a carrot or a potato, you'll be waiting forever. You can do asparagus at lower temps and stuff like that, but it's a little bit more trial and error rather than just going in at 100 degrees. I can tell you that green beans will take about 7 minutes at 100 degrees. If you did them at 85 degrees, I couldn't tell you how long they're going to take. They might take 12 minutes, they might take 15, I don't know. It's very hard to gauge, but at 100 it's much easier to gauge because it's the same temp as boiling water. So, so this one sheet theory, as good as it is, I kind of would rather get my protein right and find another use for that, and maybe crisp up the skin, or like we've talked about this with fish too, and then get the veggies in and cut your vegetables smaller so they cook quicker. So, things still need to rest too. Even if you're steaming them, they don't need to rest as long because we're not hitting them with high temps like we are roasting. But like a chicken breast, even though we've steamed it at a nice low temp, it still needs a little bit of resting time. If we roasted a chicken breast, we need to rest it, give it a good, let's say it took 15 minutes to rest, you'd probably be, to cook, you'd probably best off resting it for at least 7-8 minutes. But steamed chicken breast, you just give it like 2 or 3 minute rest.
Basically, while you're serving up.
Correct.
Basically.
Yeah. So, the one sheet theory rears its ugly head again. It's very hard to advise about what vegetables will work and what size you need to cut them and all the rest of it. I say get your chicken breast, throw it in, get it cooked, cook it at the right temp, and then just crank the oven up, and you've got 5 or 6 minutes. You can wrap your chicken breast up in foil or baking paper, let it rest, let your vegetables cook. Happy days, you're away. So, of course, if you're doing potatoes and root vegetables, it's different. But give steamed chicken breasts a run because they're actually pretty good.
Oh, they're fantastic. The other thing I always wonder about with chicken is seasoning before or after. And this is a question I ask you a lot, I know, off air. But the top, like I tend to put depends on what I'm serving it with, but I will tend to put a little bit of drizzle of olive oil, and for some reason, I don't know whether I'm wasting my time, but I will put the chicken breast between 2 pieces of baking paper. I don't know why. I don't know if it
when
does
you
anything.
Steam it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why. I think I
Not
just
at
saw
all.
that you... Okay, so I am wasting my time.
Yeah.
So
I mean, maybe early doors we were doing it with some of the ovens because there was a high water content coming from the oven, so we had a lot of water dropping down onto the...
Which I think my oven still does.
Yeah, quite possibly. So, which is why...
Okay.
So that's to avoid washing anything off.
Yeah.
So if you season your chicken and then throw it in your oven and you're getting a lot of water, let's say dropping from the ceiling or the roof of the oven down onto your chicken breast or chicken piece or whatever it might be, that will dilute and wash off your seasoning. So you probably did learn that from me, is just protecting the flesh a little bit. Chicken, season it first. Absolutely. Season it first. It's really hard.
Top 3 seasonings for chicken breast. Are they different? Chicken breast, chicken thigh?
Oh, look, depends on the application. So if we're steaming, I just think salt's just keep it simple, like salt, and you can add stuff after. It's, like I say, it's really hard to get flavour inside a chicken breast, so you're working on the outside. If you're roasting or doing a combination cook, even legs, whatever, I really like the hard herbs, so thyme, sage is another good one. Rosemary you can use in smaller quantities, is really powerful. Preserved lemon's another really good one with chicken. And when you roast preserved lemon, it really gets some serious punch. And it's quite salty, so that helps you with the seasoning again. I really like smoked paprika on chicken skin. It's quite delicious. And you can just do that towards the end of your cook because you don't want to burn the paprika. But I really like smoked paprika on like a roasted chicken thigh with smoked paprika just on it, and maybe a squeeze of lemon. But again, it's similar stuff to fish and other things, acids. So lemon juice, vinegar, anything like that, and salt. And generally try and use everyone talks about kosher salt, which is a non-iodized salt. So it's quite a fine grain, not table salt, just a little bit larger than table salt. Use that when you're doing your preparations and when it goes into the oven, and when it comes out. We all love Murray River salt flakes or Maldon or whatever you want to use, just a sprinkling of salt flakes over the top. But yeah, I mean, it's very hard to season chicken. If we're doing a roast chicken, you've got to season the cavity. That's super important. Like super, super important. And don't be shy. Like pound the salt in there.
Okay. And if you were taking your chicken breast and you were being a little bit fancy, and you decided to do a little mix of some feta, some olive chopped up, and some sun-dried tomato into a little mix and make a little cavity in the chicken breast.
So we're talking circa 1994 for about that style of cooking.
Which is about...
which is why we don't have a recipe like that on the website, but nonetheless.
Well, you know my era and my vintage, Paul. So would you still cook that on just steam?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah. Well, I mean, you're dealing with stuff that's already prepared and cooked and stuff like that. It's different if you're making a like a stuffing or a farce with a meat. So that then needs to reach a temperature. But yeah, I mean, if you want to do that, knock yourself out. I'd prefer to make maybe a like olive salsa type situation, which could go over the top rather than get the cavity. I mean, we have that being said, there is a recipe for chicken Kiev.
Which is a classic.
Which is an old school classic.
I think you did that because it's Dougie's one of his favourite chicken dishes.
Yeah, like that oozing butter coming everywhere. I mean, that's pretty...
Oozy garlic butter. Yeah. What is not to love?
Yeah, that's pretty good. So, I mean, I shouldn't be anti the stuffing, the chicken breast, but it is kind of pretty naff.
You're so naughties.
But the other thing too is you've got to remember the chicken's not just either the breast or the leg and the wing and the, roasting them and the separate bits. You've got minces there as well, and there's a lot to be done and said for mincing chicken breasts and chicken legs and using those as pasta fillings, dumplings.
Yes. That'll be another episode though, Paul, because we've actually reached the end of today's episode. Okay. So that's why I think this is a start, like we just realised the start of fish. This is the start of our love affair with chicken.
Wow, love affair.
Well, we love it.
You love it.
You don't,
yeah.
But that's all right.
Yeah,
and I happen to still love stuffed chicken breast. It's one of my faves.
Yeah. What's
wrong with the 1990s?
Oh, good music, but it's,
Anyway.
We've moved along.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that, Paul. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to this podcast as we explore home cooking in a modern world. We'd love you to subscribe, and for more information, please go to our website, cookingwithsteam.com.